Alright, so hi, I'm Olivia. I'm with Elliot, Emily, Isabella, and Jim today. And today we're going to be talking about the many factors affecting buying behavior among college students. So to start out with our introduction, across the U.S. among the 18 to 24-year-old demographic, there's over $115 billion in student debt. And as that demographic age gets higher, so does the student debt as well, for people to go on to graduate school and such. And adding on the average of $6,000 in personal debt per student that I found, this creates a huge effect on future decisions for college students, both emotional and financial, with stress of how to basically deal with of all the debt that they have to deal with in the future. So our goal through this research study is to find the correlation between the amount of debt that a student has, their area of study, and any parental influences that might affect their buying behavior. And I'll pass it on to Elliot to continue with that.
Thank you, Olivia. So yeah, as you said, we have 3 hypotheses based off what we're trying to figure out. So the first one is that spending habits will be positively correlated with those of their parents. Basically, we want to see if you come from a household of parents who spend a lot of money, are you then going to be more likely to spend a lot of money in college, whether you have the means to or not? Student debt impacts the relationship between young adults and their buying habits. We want to know how having a lot of student debt affects your buying behavior. Are students still willing to spend with a lot of debt because they aren't very good with their money, or does having a lot of debt make them be more cautious about their spending because they don't have the money to spend? We want to see what that relationship is going to look like. And then also, a college student's major affects their buying behavior. We want to see if students from different majors, whether that be like math and science, business, art, how that affects students' buying behaviors. Then I'll be passing it on to Isabella to talk about the survey plan.
So for our survey plan, we select a couple of questions to help us determine to prove our hypothesis. But since it's a lot of questions, we chose the main questions to show you guys what you're going to have in your survey. So some of the questions are, how much student debt do you have? How much do you spend per month in personal expenses? Do you have a credit card? If yes, how many credit cards? Why is the reason for you to obtain a credit card? Is to pay bills or buy groceries, put gas? And are you concerned about your credit score? Like, it's very important for you or not at all? And do you agree or not, or disagree? My parents' spending habit impact my buying behavior. So those are a couple of questions that we're like looking for the financial part for the students, and if the buying, the parents' habits, behavior can impact that too. And now it's with Emily.
All right, so to continue with the survey plan, I'm just going to go over some of the demographic questions. So basically, we're just going to talk about their age, gender, what their class status is, what their major is, what university they attend, and if that university is public or private. And we chose to do these questions because it gives us a better insight about our demographic. And yeah, next I'm going to pass it to Jim.
All right, thank you, Emily. So I'll be going over our sample plan now. Our defined population, we're going to be primarily looking at individuals age 18 to 24. On top of that, we want them to be enrolled in an undergraduate program, 4-year program in the U.S. We chose this because there's a lot of variability in financial responsibility in terms of your age and also what kind of program you're studying. So for example, you could be 18 to 24 in college while going to school in a trade program, associate program, or a graduate program. These all cost different. Graduate programs likely to be more expensive, probably higher student debt. Associate program is going to be less expensive, less student debt, so it's different financial responsibility there. So then moving on to the sample frame, it's going to provide a picture, like I was saying, with all of our respondents who have somewhat similar financial responsibilities, so that we're able to kind of narrow down and precisely determine really what the effect on their buying behavior is. So our sample method is going to be non-probability convenience sampling. We're going to distribute it through email with a link through the university, as well as just kind of people we know. So then moving on, We're aiming for a sample size of roughly 300 respondents because we feel this is large enough to limit the sampling error, but still a realistic goal. So geographically, we're aiming for the Midwest. It's definitely going to be a lot of people who are at Northern, considering that meets our sample population, a lot of 18 to 24-year-olds. It's a 4-year program. But with that said, we don't want to limit ourselves to just people at Northern. So filtering our responses mainly through age and enrollment type. If the individual isn't 18 to 24 or they're not enrolled in a 4-year program, we're not going to consider those. And then finally, looking a little bit more at validating the sample, we want to get a pretty close to 50-50 distribution of gender. We want a geographic location, like I just mentioned, that isn't too narrow. Year in school, we would like, and this kind of plays into age as well, an even distribution of freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. And then area of study, going back to one of our hypotheses, like Elliot mentioned, being how your area of study affects your buying behavior. So we definitely want to cover more than just like people in college business. We want a bunch of different areas of study for that. So that takes us to the end. Thank you for listening. We'll open up for questions now.